Hi, coucou mes amis. It's Alexis again, and welcome to my channel, mainly talking about all things TAPIF. So please, if you are liking what I'm putting out, please subscribe so I know to keep making more videos and educating y'all about things that TAPIF has going on with it, and experiences that I've had, thoughts, predictions, advice, everything like that I can give you. Today I wanted to talk about the biggest shocks regards to primary school and teaching. Certainly there might be a couple crossovers that will apply if you are going to be teaching at secondary level, but definitely this is of course targeted towards primary because they are very different, and it seems like the experiences, one, can vary so much just at the same level, depending on what school you're at, but they can really vary depending on kind of if you're at primary versus secondary. So these are my big kind of shocks, I guess. You know, and I have to disclaimer, if you haven't seen any of the other videos, I'm not a teacher. I was not a teacher before this. I was working HR in an office environment, and I never worked at a school. So all my experiences with schools are as a student, and really that's it. But this is kind of my go-to, and it's also a little bit of a difference versus the American education system and the schools I went to in New Jersey growing up versus here. So kind of gonna hit the top 5. Number 1, there is like no admin help at the primary school level, which has been such a huge shock. Like they don't have secretaries. At primary school. It's insane to me. So they have directors or directrices, and there's one director, at least to my knowledge, my schools. There's one director per school, but the director is actually like the head teacher. So the majority of the time, that director is still teaching. At least at 2 of my schools, I definitely know this. My third school, I will say I've never not noticed him, or I don't teach in my director's classes, so I think he's a teacher. My other school though, the 2 directors, directrices, are both teachers as well, so I know that they're teaching, I know they're doing these other things. So they're essentially the principal, but they're still teachers and they're doing all this stuff. There's really nobody to help with admin work. So keeping that in mind, you know, you're definitely not going to have as much support on an admin level when you're an assistant if you're working at a primary school. I haven't had any problems with this. Again, I also have a really great conseiller pédagogique that I know I can email if I have any questions. I really haven't too much, besides one time when I kind of like said, hey, I'm having trouble getting scheduled actually. Like my one school just didn't seem to need me. So I had emailed her letting her know, and in case there was anything I could do. So that being said, that was really it, and she responded and she was very helpful. So you do gonna have to rely on them when it comes to certain admin things. There's a thing called a pass d'éducation, which is supposed to give you kind of, it's a educator's discount card for museums and stuff like that. And I actually still have to ask for it. I asked my main school where I spend most of my hours, and he said they didn't have any. So I have to still ask my other school, and I just keep forgetting, it is hard because there's no admin assistant. That you feel bad asking people who are like never not working or not on the go. So I haven't done it yet, but it's kind of a little bit stressful when it comes to that. And that's amazing to me. In the US, we have so many unnecessary administrative assistants and support staff at schools. Like I remember is this high school now? I remember my high school had like 4 or something vice principals. It was such BS. It was like too much. It was ridiculous. It got to the point of like, that's not necessary. But I'm definitely coming from a place where we had like more than enough admin support, and there's zero. There is zero. And I actually had mentioned this a little bit to one of the directors, was kind of saying like, yeah, I'm really trying to get help, especially when, you know, we just keep getting more and more students who, you know, this is like ESL in a way, like they are coming from families who don't really speak English, or they may have just moved here, and everything is just a little bit harder and a little bit more trickier to do. He's like, when we need more help, and I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. I don't blame you. So that was a really big wake-up call, and that's literally every time I go, I'm always like shocked. I'm like, so there's nobody answer phones? I was like, how do we find out when kids are sick? Who does anything? Because it just doesn't make sense to me how anything like gets handled correctly when there's zero like admin support, specified. There's no one specific to do that. There is one girl at one of my schools. I wasn't sure if she's the librarian. Forgot the word. Librarian, or what, but she's there and she helps out sometimes, but I didn't know she existed for a little bit. So, but still, if that, there's maybe one person who's like there part-time. I don't even know. But I got trapped kind of today when I was at my schools, and there was like like I was the only one in the room because I had more time between classes, and like there are these people ringing the doorbell, and I'm like, I don't know what to do, I can't help you. And then a guy comes in, he's like, I have to fix the bathroom, and I'm like, I don't know what to help you, like our director's in the class with students right now. And then another paramedic or something came in, he's like, I'm trying to get this kid, and I'm like, oh my god, it's a paramedic, I don't know what to do. I'm just the English assistant, so I'm so not qualified for assisting you, but did my best. It's not bad, like I haven't been taken advantage of, or I don't think anything's gone wrong, it just has led to a few awkward moments. Alrighty, next up, one thing I did kind of want to mention as well was breaks. And this is, I don't know, it might be again an American thing because we like to work around to death. They take so many breaks here. It is like beautiful and kind of weird because I don't know what to do with my life. So they have like, at least in my school, is like essentially 3 recreations, like 3 recreate. And so one, there's a morning recreation, and I think they can vary from 15 minutes to 20 minutes. My both schools, I think, are 20 minutes actually. So they have a morning recre around like 10 or so, like 10 to 10:20. And then they have lunch that goes from like 11:20 to 1:20. And then they have another afternoon recre at around, I think, like, I don't know, 3 or 3:30 or so. So it's 3 breaks. Like essentially it's literally like 2 hours and 40 minutes worth of breaks. Like the 2-hour one is where they also get lunch, but like a lot of people's parents come and pick them up, which also I don't understand because I think I know like 5 people whose parents probably would have been able to pick them up in the day, when we were younger. But some people's parents like come pick them up and then they take them home for 2 hours because it's 2 hours, and so many of the kids live close by, it makes all the sense. But it's to me 2 hours. You have 2 hours. Like if you're a teacher, granted it's a really great time to take some time to like print stuff out, prepare lessons, do some grading, anything like that you have to catch up on. It is a really nice way to say like, oh great, this is 2 hours I won't have to spend, well, an hour maybe I won't have to spend after work staying here, or at home not spending time with my family but preparing for next day's lesson, yada yada. So it's really, that is nice, like, and I think it is a good idea, but it seemed to me like I don't have anything to do and I can't go home for 2 hours, so like I'm just like there for 2 hours. They do, I will say, eat really nice lunches, and I kind of like the idea. Like I told my mom, she's a dietitian, I was like, you would love their lunches, like, because they have a real lunch with like grains and protein, and then they have like 1 or 2 yogurts or 1 or 2 applesauces, and then like they have a dessert cup with it as well, and so it's like a full spread for your lunch. And then like I guess you have a really long time to digest as well, and they're all about taking coffees here, so of course everyone's doing that as well. But it's insane. Like I love it, but I'm still trying to wrap my head around it, and I fear that I am ruined for every future job I could ever have, because I'm like, excuse me, I got 2 hours and 40 minutes worth of breaks in my previous employment. So that's going to be tricky. Another big difference is, I'm going to kind of touch on 2 parts here, so 3 and 4 is going to be how teachers act. 3 is mainly the differences between like just overall attitudes. 1, at least I am a pretty, like in a way with kids, I'm dramatic. I'm very active and enthusiastic, and I kind of act a lot, I suppose, or where I'm, saying words and I'm like, are you happy? Are you sad? I'm gonna be so embarrassed when I look at this later. But those things, like I'm being very dramatic for that because it's with kids and that's gonna resonate with them more. And the teachers really aren't super like that. There's definitely a few teachers who are like what I imagine, you know, kindergarten, first grade, second grade teachers to be like, and like very enthusiastic, very theatrical, or just like exuberant, all that fun stuff. But it's just, I think it is not like for the majority of people the French way. They're just a bit more reserved, they're more calm. So you being, I think the kids really do love, the kids seem to respond well too, the kids seem to love it. But they do seem to be like really enjoying, I think, you when you're like acting and having fun and kind of getting a little crazy with it, because that's not how everything's usually are. So the kids seem to love me, I think, because they're like, oh, you're the weird, like, shiny, giggly girl that comes, because I've gotten several comments here about my level of giggliness and how much I laugh in a good way. People actually haven't been mean or anything about it, which I appreciate, because I am a very giddy, giggly person, and I was kind of afraid the French would think something was wrong with me. So far I think we're fine. But that being said, yeah, it's just kind of a different vibe, different tone. Everyone's in lovely, it's just a different tone. Next up to 4, kind of easing into it, is, yeah, just the way kids are, the way teachers handle things. They're definitely, I would say, a bit rougher. There's more yelling for the teachers, and they're more strict on certain things than they are with other kids. So that is something to definitely keep an eye out for. And don't be, you know, I'm always gonna stay back, but I am not used to like kids, I think, getting yelled at as much. I think it's kind of good because the kids are being taught to like respect their elders more. I think we let our kids run over all of us a little bit more in the US, but definitely the French teachers are more strict, and I'm at a younger level, so I can't really speak too much about it all, but at a yeah, because at high school, I think the older you get, they get a little bit more harsh and like, no, you're wrong. That's not correct. Like, we do a lot of positive reinforcement, a little too much sometimes in the US, and so a little bit more realistic about correct, incorrect guesses and answers and all that stuff. But either way, it's still kind of interesting to take note on. So you will see kids getting yelled at probably more than you're used to, and also sometimes for weird things. I haven't seen too much kids getting yelled at in weird ways, but I know one of my friends was like, yeah, like this kid got like super yelled at and scolded for like not having a pencil case. So they have interesting things that I think bother them a bit more, and that they have just slightly different expectations at times than teachers in the US do. But not saying we have like the right expectations, they have the wrong expectations here. It's just different. It's just different. And again, I'm not a teacher, so I can't exactly say what 2018 US teachers yell at kids about. I have no idea. I haven't been there in a while. The last number 5 thing is within schools, it's so funny to me how kids are punished. Because I don't think this is what happened ever, and I was getting really confused with it in the beginning, so just a forewarning. When kids get punished, usually in class, what happens is they're sent to another class, and they just like sit in there for a while, usually a while too. But I was getting really confused because I was like, is this student yours? Like, am I supposed to be teaching this student? And then they'd be like, no, he's punished. And I was like, so is he yours and he's punished? Or he's like from a different classroom and he's punished? And then I started realizing, oh, okay, so like if I was teaching all this class and Jimmy was acting up, I'd be like, Jimmy, go to Mr. O'Brien's office now. I'm sorry, not office. I'd go to Mr. O'Brien's classroom right now and sit down there. And he'd go over there and he would just sit and he'd do his work, and he would sit in someone else's classroom. And there's just a constant trading off of children. It's very interesting to me. It's not necessarily like a bad thing. I'm kind of intrigued by it. I wonder if that works well versus just like, I have seen kids every now and then stuck in the hall for a very brief period of time, like go stand next to the door or something like that, but not too much. So definitely interesting thing. Kids are also traded off a lot in other ways. I think maybe if it's kind of like academic levels, or if kids need extra help and stuff, like people will come by and like pick like 2 to 4 children up out of a classroom and like take them, and they'll like take 2 of each classroom, and I'm like, where are the tributes going? I don't know. So I still haven't figured out where that is, but I kind of assume that they must need extra assistance or something like that, and they're therefore going to do something. I don't know. but it's very interesting. So those are really my top 5 things I've noticed that are like the biggest difference at teaching at a primary school level. There's definitely interesting things to note about school in general, and if you want, I can comment more about that, but those are the biggest, like, oh wow, like that in a way made it nice to have like had an idea in my head beforehand, especially the administrative thing. I still can't get over how just they have nobody to do anything. But alright, that's really my things. Again, always please like and subscribe below. I'd really appreciate it. And then it's letting me know that what I'm doing is useful. If you have any videos you want me to see, and then also if there's any constructive feedback that you just want to tell me, like, you shouldn't do this or you should do that, and you should try to move your eyebrows and head less when you talk, because I didn't realize I did that. Go for it. But just be kind, you're kind, so be nice, kind of. But appreciate it, and I hope this was helpful. So, bisous, mes chers.